In this video we're going to look at some of Yen Press's junior light novel titles. These are light novels for 8 and up rather than the usual 13 to 14 and up. But just because you might be a little bit older reader, don't necessarily write these out. There is some fun to be had with some of these titles. And thank you to Yen Press for sending these as review copies to get them out to you. The first title we're going to talk about is Ke9 Detective Chris. Now, this is a detective series by heart, and this is probably the one I expected the most from, but kind of got the least out of. Don't think that's bad, it's just, well, it's a detective series. You kind of have an idea of what you're going to get in here. We've got a little dog who, well, he's scared of insects. So that means that he can't necessarily work on the police force, but you can't teach dog new tricks. He is still very much wanting to be part of the whole police detective agency, and he has a nose for crime. Oh my god, terrible puns. Honestly, this was a nice little introduction to the junior Yen Press titles, and yeah, it was quite nice. You kind of know what you're expecting. A cute dog getting its nose into things, you know, and the child protagonists who just run around after the dog and kind of save the day. It's what you would expect. But if I'm perfectly honest, we don't see that many detective series out there in terms of light novels. Most light novels tend to be, you know, slice of life or isekai. And that's one of the things that we're going to see recurring with these particular titles. We're going to see things that you do not normally see in light novels. And you know what? If you want an easy to read detective title, if you want something to get a child into reading light novels, this one's probably a good choice. There's nothing really dangerous about it, there's nothing that you're kind of going to get upset with. It's just a very bare bones detective series with a cute dog. Next up is online, and this one is about people being online. Yes, we have what is very similar to a lot of MMO titles. This is Sword Art Online, very light version. So this is about a death game, a game where people are basically, they're getting into it, but, well, things are happening that are kind of bad. So what I liked about this is that this kind of reintroduced to me the fact that dark series aren't necessarily just for adults. This one probably was more brutal than some of the other more adult light novels I've read, which I found quite funny. So this is about a young girl who gets into playing this game, and she discovers that whenever you are in a battle, you have to bet parts of your body. So you might bet your arm, head, eyes, what have you. And yes, she decides she's going to try and beat this game to try and save some of the other students that are trapped in there or have already lost parts of their body. She's helped by, well, a few other characters who, well, yeah, they're kind of what they are. It's more for children. There's not really a huge amount of development. They're kind of what you would kind of see a little bit tropey, but I quite liked it. What I did like as well is this is very much kind of similar to styles such as Shin Megami Tensei, in which you have a little bit of a monster raising simulator, but with yokai and mysterious spirits and stuff like that, rather than your usual dragon, Squirtle, monster thing. I quite liked it. I quite enjoyed my time with it. Yeah, I kind of, by the end of it, I was thinking, there's not really enough here to pick up a second volume. But I think if you want somebody to try out a light novel and they like MMOs or they want their more depth games, this one is a good shout. The next one is a title that I found was interesting. The reason being was because, well, it's Phantom Thief Red. So a Phantom Thief is something that you may not be aware of over in the West. Probably the most one that you are aware of is the likes of Lupin the Third, or maybe the protagonist from Persona 5. Of course, in Japan you have Lupin the Third, who is a massively popular character, and you have the likes of Kaito Kid. So a Phantom Thief is essentially a thief. They leave their calling card and it's just kind of, oh, I've stolen the crown jewels and find me. Our protagonists are becoming the next Phantom Thieves because, yeah, it seems that you need to be kind of introduced into that. And yeah, I like this. I think it relied a little bit too much on non-Lupin or Kaito Kid, but it was a fun little heist series. And again, like I said, heist. Don't think I've ever read a heist light novel before. And I liked it. It was very fun. It was very relaxing. There wasn't anything too dangerous about it. It was a bit bizarre that they're putting children in this position, but you know what? A child might watch Conan or Lupin and think, oh, I want to be like that. And yeah, this is a fun little title for them. I think it's one that I think maybe might miss a little bit more in the Western markets due to just the fact that Phantom Thieves aren't necessarily as popular. But yeah, give it a shot. It might be worth your try. And the last title is Horror Collector. Now, this is the one that I expected so little from, but actually genuinely enjoyed it. Now, in the past I have talked about a few yokai titles, and this one is very much like that. Except you also have stuff like creepypasta. What this actually is a collection of small horror stories. That's right. Now, this is probably, again, more brutal than a lot of the more adult horror stories. I feel like a lot of adult horror stories tend to have stuff that's a little bit more unnerving, a little bit stuff that might get under your skin without being too kind of shocking. But this stuff was kind of what you would expect when you were little, where it's like you're 8 or 9-year-old watching a horror movie and it's a little bit more startling than what you would expect when you're an adult and you kind of watch a lot of these thrillers. This I actually really liked. It's got an overarching plot about a young boy who is kind of trying to find the roots of a lot of these kind of mysterious goings on, but there's a lot of genuine horror little stories in here, and I quite like that. I like the fact that each story didn't last more than 10 minutes of a read, and the whole novel took about an hour and a half to read on its own. But it's kind of what I wanted. It's a fun little horror series. It's not going to be anything kind of too scary or thrilling, but it is enough to kind of give you a little bit of a jolt. If you grew up reading stuff like Goosebumps, you will be a little bit more at home with this. So that is 4 light novels, and honestly the thing I can say about this is, well, this was interesting. I kind of wasn't expecting much from these light novels, but if I'm perfectly honest, the fact that nearly all of them had themes that you do not normally see in regular light novels kind of intrigued me. Now, I feel like because I've read that many light novels, I am perfectly honest that some of them kind of get into the same kind of tropes. Fantasy world, MMO, slice of life at a school. But having stuff like a heist, or well, even the Death Games online stuff was kind of more like Shin Megami Tensei than Dragon Quest, or like I said, a collection of horror stories. That's stuff that I don't normally see in light novels. So if you're wanting something a little bit different, or if you want a younger generation to try out light novels, do give some of these a shot. I do genuinely believe that they are worth at least investing in. And if you're a seasoned reader, well, if you can find one of these maybe at a library or something, check them out, because honestly, they are a great palate cleanser. I felt that I was more than happy to go back into the same old in isekai and stuff after reading these. Genuinely a nice little surprise and treat. While I'm aware that most people are going to look at these and scoff, there was genuinely more adult content in these than some genuine adult light novels, which quite surprised me. These are stuff for kids, but they do have enough to, well, keep your attention satisfied. At least that's my opinion anyway. If you like light novels, go check out this video. There's plenty of light novels on there, and thanks for coming. Goodbye.